Stop.
Okay, just
Make sure there's nothing in her pockets. Thank you.
No one touched me.
don't start.
Okay.
Don't.
You gotta pop your shoes off here.
Imagine a young woman dressed to impress, eager to party the night away. But when she's denied entry into a club, her response takes a terrifying turn.
On the back of the phone, touched me.
There you go. Put your other arm.
I'll call the cops on you, you idiot.
I am a cop.
What unfolds next is a series of reckless actions that lead to 4 felony charges. Join us as we unravel this intense story, exploring how a moment of rejection ignited a shocking chain reaction. Get ready. This is a wild ride you won't want to miss. Caught in action. It was a lively night, with music pumping and people excitedly buzzing. Among them, we see a young woman, dressed in white, eager to join the fun inside. She is seen approaching the entrance, but as she nears the door, she encounters a formidable barrier, a pair of bouncers standing firm, arms crossed, ready to enforce the club's rules. She tried to dodge them, but got caught. You tried to walk past them, but they're not letting you in. Sadly, the girl failed to sneak in. The bouncers stood firm, blocking her way. Sneaking into clubs is a classic teenage adventure. Everyone wants a taste of that adult nightlife, but getting past the bouncer is no easy feat. From fake IDs to clever disguises, they brainstorm all sorts of tricks to blend in. The thrill of outsmarting the system makes it feel exhilarating. But when they finally step up to the entrance, that excitement can quickly turn into dread if they're caught. Heart racing, palms sweating, they might stammer out excuses or even try to laugh it off. Whether they feel humiliated or find the whole experience hilarious, it becomes a legendary story they'll share for years. But this wasn't the case for this girl. She had her heart set on entering the club, but they wouldn't let her in. The disappointment hit her hard, and soon it turned into anger. She didn't hold back. The situation quickly escalated, and she started yelling, her emotions spilling out. She started yelling, screaming, and even resorted to calling the bouncers some not-so-nice names. "There you go. Put your other arm, I'll call the cops on you, you idiot," she yells, not realizing that the bouncers are actually police officers. "I am a cop," one of them calmly states, trying to de-escalate the situation. For teens, pushing boundaries is all part of the thrill. But what happens when they realize they're messing with the cops? In the heat of the moment, they might feel invincible, unaware of the potential consequences of their actions. But the fun quickly turns to panic when the realization hits. The adrenaline rush is replaced by a wave of fear. Heart racing, they scramble for a plan. Should they run, hide, or talk their way out of it? As the officers approach, some might try to act cool, cracking jokes, while others freeze, overwhelmed by the seriousness of the situation. Whether they leave with a warning or a ticket, it's a lesson learned the hard way. But this wasn't the case with this girl. Her anger only escalated further. "Abuse the power, idiot," she snaps back, clearly frustrated and feeling powerless. The tension escalated as she pushed against the officers, clearly unwilling to accept their authority. "I don't want you touching me," she screamed, her face twisted in a mixture of rage and desperation. This moment encapsulates how quickly emotions can spiral out of control when someone feels trapped and powerless. The officers stood their ground, attempting to reason with her while enduring the barrage of insults. The officers explained that her behavior could lead to serious consequences. "Honestly, right now you're my responsibility," one officer stated firmly, attempting to regain control of the situation. But her response was filled with venom. "I think you're gross. All of you." Her insults cut through the air, creating an atmosphere charged with hostility. "Don't you guys have better stuff to do?" she continued, showing a complete disregard for the seriousness of the situation. As the officers attempted to guide her toward the police car, her defiance only intensified. "I'm not getting in," she declared, voice strong and unwavering. The officers remained calm and professional, urging her to cooperate. They even tried to stop her from resisting so that she didn't hurt herself accidentally. We've all seen those moments when spoiled teens push boundaries, like this girl who just won't cooperate with the cops. In her mind, she's untouchable, insisting she doesn't have to listen. Her defiance creates a scene, drawing attention from onlookers. The cops are trained to handle difficult situations, but her refusal to cooperate tests their limits. They ask politely, but she just escalates the drama. Caught between maintaining order and dealing with her attitude, the officers strategize. Should they enforce the law or let it slide? In a bid to control the situation, one officer warned, "If you don't cooperate, we will have to use pepper spray." Instead of backing down, she defiantly shot back, "Spray me, I don't care." This bravado was a facade for the fear that began to creep in as reality set in. The officers continued to assure her, "We will let go of you once we get to headquarters, so just relax." But for her, relaxation felt impossible. Despite her fierce resistance, the officers managed to secure her in the back of the police car. And this wasn't the end of the drama. Panic in the police car. The young woman's anxiety fills the air as she sits in the back seat of the police car. Her heart races, and she feels a wave of fear wash over her. "Do not take me to the police station," she pleads, her voice shaking. It's clear that panic has gotten a grip on her. Desperation seeps into her tone as she yells, "Get me out!" The officer remains firm, standing his ground. "You can't right now. You're under arrest," he states calmly. The weight of those words sinks into her, and she feels her heart pounding louder. "Can I at least call my friends?" she asks, hoping for a lifeline, for some support. The officer shakes his head. "Not right now," he replies, his voice steady. Her voice clearly reflects her fear and frustration. The officer continues to speak softly, trying to ease her worries. "I'm just your transport. I need to take you in." The girl responds, "I'm having anxiety." Noticing her distress, the officer tries to reassure her. "We're about to be on our way. It's only about a quarter mile away." But the girl begins to hyperventilate, showing just how anxious she is. In an effort to help her calm down, he said, "Just breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth." Her panic escalates. "I need to get out," she insisted, her voice rising with urgency. He asked, "Would you like me to open the window for you?" She refused, saying, "I need to get out." The officer replies, "You can't. You're under arrest." As her anxiety morphs into anger, she yells, "I need to get out right now." The officer remains calm, assuring her, "You can't. You're fine." But her frustration builds. "Let me out, you idiot!" she shouts, her voice sharp and full of disdain. The officer stays composed, responding, "All right, just so you know, this is all recorded." "I don't care," she snaps back, her anger boiling over. "Can I get out now?" she demands again, her tone aggressive. The officer responds, "I'm going to get you out in literally 30 seconds. He tries to keep the conversation light, but she continues her outburst. "Shut up. I don't care about you." In a moment of vulnerability, she shifts her approach and asks, "Can you please call my friends?" The officer replies, "Not right now." Her frustration escalates. "How am I supposed to do that then?" The officer explains, "You can later." But her agitation doesn't ease. "When is later?" she presses. "When you're released," he tells her, still trying to remain patient. Despite his efforts to calm her down, her behavior shows a lack of cooperation. She keeps refusing to comply with his instructions, her emotions running high. "You're an idiot!" she yells, her language becoming more aggressive. The officer stands firm, reminding her that they are following the rules. "You're under arrest," he states again. Her frustration is evident, but he tries to maintain his authority, knowing that his job is to keep the situation under control. At the station. For most teens, stepping into a police station is a nerve-wracking experience, filled with fear and uncertainty. They might imagine the worst: confrontations, repercussions, and the loss of freedom. But for this girl, it's a different story. Though she's scared, her fear morphs into anger. Instead of cooperating, she acts like a spoiled brat, rolling her eyes and dismissing authority. "We're just going right over here, right up this way," the officer says, trying to keep his voice calm. The police station feels tense and heavy as the girl walks in, guided by the officer. "Don't touch me, don't touch me," she snaps, clearly upset. The officer replies, "Unfortunately, I have to." "I don't want you to touch me," she insists, her voice rising with anger. "Come in here," the officer says, leading her to a small, bright room. The tension thickens as they step inside. "Stop, please. No, idiot. Don't touch me," she shouts again. "Then walk on your own," he responds, trying to maintain control. They finally enter the room, where the walls are stark white and the light is harsh. "Okay, I just need to take your purse for a moment," the officer says gently, hoping to ease the situation. "I don't care. It's hooked onto me, idiot," she retorts, pulling her bag closer, refusing to let it go. The officer carefully removes her purse, a sign of authority that she resents. "Can I go home?" she asks, her tone pleading and desperate. "Nope. Why don't you take a seat and take a breath, okay?" he suggests, trying to de-escalate the situation. "Actually, I need to go home," she insists, her voice shaky and filled with anxiety. "I'm having an anxiety attack." "I want the lawyers here. Lawyers now," she yells, frustration boiling over. "You're not going home. Have a seat," the officer insists, his tone steady and firm. "Then have a seat and act right," he adds, trying to guide her. But she stands there, arms crossed, defiantly refusing. "Okay, you can just go right in the cell," the officer says, his patience wearing thin. Journey to the cell. Most of the teens at the police station, when approached by an officer, often adopt a compliant demeanor, instinctively following instructions. This behavior could stem from a desire to avoid further conflict, or simply the overwhelming authority that the police represent. They may nod, respond politely, and do as they're told, all while battling a swirl of emotions inside. For some, the experience might bring feelings of vulnerability. Others might feel rebellious or frustrated, questioning the situation that led them here. Yet, even in discomfort, they strive to project an image of respectfulness, hoping to navigate the situation smoothly. In stark contrast to the typical anxious teen at the police station, this spoiled brat who marched in with an air of entitlement is different. From the moment she stepped through the doors, it's clear she feels untouchable, her confidence bordering on arrogance. While other teens might instinctively comply, she thrives on pushing back, viewing the officers as mere obstacles to her whims. Her tone is brash, showing no respect for the authority in the room. Instead of fear or uncertainty, she feels an exhilarating rush from her defiance, drawing attention to herself as if she's putting on a show. As the situation escalates, the atmosphere becomes charged with tension. The officers remain professional, trying to diffuse her attitude, but she pushes back harder, challenging their every word. One of the officers begins to search her pockets. "Make sure there's nothing in her pockets," he instructs the other officers. "Don't touch me!" she screams, her voice filled with anger. "You gotta pop your shoes off here," they say, trying to keep things safe. "No one touch me," she protests, her frustration growing. She stomps her feet, making it clear she will not comply. "Stop! You're going to hurt yourself," one officer warns, concern creeping into his voice. "I don't care. I want to go home," she replies, her voice tired and strained. "It's so stupid that I'm here." For many teens, the sight of a police station can be intimidating. The authority and structure of these environments foster a sense of fear and respect, making misbehavior unlikely. Most teens understand that acting out in front of officers could lead to serious consequences. The idea of hitting or even stomping their feet in defiance seems absurd when faced with the reality of law enforcement. Officers are aware of this fear and often strive to create a more approachable atmosphere. They recognize that understanding and communication can help alleviate those fears. While some may act tough, the truth is that most teens respect the police presence, knowing it's not worth the risk. Imagine being so spoiled that you think you can get away with anything. This girl, raised in an environment where boundaries were blurred, exhibited behavior that left everyone in disbelief. When being dealt with by officers, instead of showing respect, she reacted with aggression, hitting and stomping her feet. Isn't it outrageous? How could anyone treat law enforcement like that? This behavior is a reflection of a deeper issue. It shows how entitlement can warp a person's understanding of authority and consequences. In a place where respect should prevail, she chose defiance instead. To protect themselves, the officers asked her to take off her shoes. "Please, just take them off," they urge. "I'm not kicking my shoes off, idiots!" she shouts, feeling trapped. As the officers gently remove her shoes, she lies down on the floor, hands cuffed behind her back. "Let's go to the cell," one officer says, trying to maintain control. When cops tell anyone that they're taking them to the cell, a wave of panic washes over. The world suddenly feels like it's spinning out of control. One might feel trapped, like their freedom is slipping away. The weight of the situation presses down on them. Will my parents find out? What will my friends think? But we doubt this girl was thinking any of this. She did believe that her resistance would save her from going to the cell. "I'm not moving," she retorts, still refusing to cooperate. "We can help you, but I would much rather you walk on your own," the officer replies, hoping to make things easier. "All right, Jim, we're going to pick you up," another officer says, preparing to lift her. "Stand up nice and easy," the officer instructs, trying to guide her. The girl's voice breaks as she begs, "I want these off, and I want to go home." "Okay, well, stomping on my foot and kicking your legs around is not going to change that," the officer explains, his patience thinning. "I wasn't doing anything wrong, you idiots," she yells, desperation seeping into her voice. "Take these off me now," she demands, her anger boiling over. "You need to stop, okay?" one officer says firmly, his voice steady. "You want to go home? Then stop and just listen to what we're saying." But the girl is far from calm. She begins to yell again, "Let me go!" Her defiance only grows stronger. On the ground, she thrashes about, making it harder for the officers to assist her. Every time they try to help her up, she kicks her legs in protest, clearly unwilling to cooperate. Her frustration fills the room, making it clear that reasoning is not getting through to her. The officers exchange looks, realizing that they need to find a new way to handle the situation. As she kicks and thrashes, the atmosphere becomes increasingly strained. The officers take a step back, trying to assess how to proceed without escalating the situation further. It is clear how every time the officers reached to help her up, she kicked her legs in protest, making it difficult for them to lift her or guide her to the cell. Her resistance was clear. No amount of reasoning seemed to penetrate her stubbornness. The officers, now frustrated, realized that they needed to find another way to handle the situation without escalating it further. Inside the cell. In the video, see how Jen is being dragged down the hallway by several police officers. Her frustration bubbles over as she yells, "Let me go home! You guys have better things to do. Go arrest someone who's really doing something bad." She's furious, feeling trapped and misunderstood. The officers remain calm, trying to reason with her, but Jen just gets louder. "You idiots! Don't you have anything better to do? Why are you wasting your time on me?" Her anger fills the air, making the situation even more tense. As they reach the cell, Jen starts to scream, "You guys are hurting me! Stop hurting me!" One of the officers, Patrolman Lee, responds, "Let me get those cuffs off you. Just stay right there." He seems unbothered by her threats. "You have a big lawsuit coming," Jen threatens, thinking her words might intimidate them. Patrolman Lee shrugs, saying, "Okie dokie," showing he isn't concerned about her threats. "What's your name?" Jen asks, trying to regain some control over the situation. "I'm Patrolman Lee," he replies. She thinks for a moment and says, "I hope my lawyers will be talking to you soon." There's a hint of satisfaction in her voice, but the officer simply tells her, "Okay, just have a seat." The officers ask her to sit in the cell, and they will be back shortly. However, Jen isn't calming down. She keeps getting up and approaching the door, and the officers have to gently push her back inside. It's clear that she feels powerless, and it makes her more upset. When Jen notices the cell door closing, panic sets in. "Let me out!" she screams, desperately trying to escape. In her frantic attempt, she bumps her head against the door, causing her to cry out in pain. "You want to punch me?" she challenges, trying to provoke the officers. Constant demands and threats. While Jen is in the cell, she keeps on bothering the officers for more water. "Cool, and no water is allowed," Jen says. "We don't have any water right now," the officer explains. His tone is flat, almost indifferent to her distress. "That's crazy. I need water. I can't just sit here without any," she insists, feeling parched. In this case, the girl kept pestering officers, asking for water and making a scene. But what was really going on? Was she tired from all the yelling and crying, or was her anxiety making her throat dry? Her constant interruptions left the officers frustrated. It raised questions about her state of mind. Was she genuinely distressed, or was she just trying to provoke a reaction from the cops? The officer is seen shrugging again. "I have paperwork to do." "Yeah, that's fair," Jen responds, trying to sound reasonable. "But I'm really thirsty. I need water now." Her voice cracks, revealing her desperation. The officer replies, "Okay, well, this isn't the Hilton," trying to lighten the mood, but Jen is not amused. "I don't care. I didn't ask to be here," she snaps back, her anger rising. Imagine walking into a police station and behaving as if you're in a 5-star hotel. This girl was demanding, treating the officers as if they were her personal servants, expecting to get whatever she wanted. Her sense of entitlement was astonishing. Instead of recognizing the seriousness of her situation, she acted like she was on an adventure, constantly asking for drinks as if she were in a hotel lobby. This behavior speaks volumes about her upbringing. Being overly pampered can lead to a warped sense of reality, where consequences are disregarded and respect for authority is non-existent. Would you like to keep acting like this and stay until 6 in the morning? Or do you want to be released when your dad gets here? The officer asks, trying to make her see sense. "I didn't ask you to call my dad," Jen shouts, still upset. The officer tries to explain. "I never called your dad. I don't even know how they found out, but I spoke to your mom. She said your dad is on the way. As long as you're fine, I can release you to him." When she realized the police had called her dad to pick her up, panic set in. She never wanted him to know what happened. Instead of facing the consequences, she had hoped to call a friend for help and cover it all up. Her mind would have raced with thoughts of how to explain everything. The idea of disappointing her father would have been unbearable. She would have thought she could hide the situation, but now that the police were involved, her plan unraveled quickly. This situation highlights a common struggle for many teens, fearing the consequences of their actions. Instead of seeking help from a parent, she opted for secrecy, which ultimately backfired. Jen again asks for water, on which the officer tells her that if he finds a cup, he will get her a cup of water. "Cool? Okay?" Jen responds, knowing that she needs to settle down. She doesn't want to stay here longer than necessary. Dad to the rescue. Parenting a teen is no easy feat. With hormones raging and a quest for independence, many parents find themselves facing unexpected hurdles. One moment, your teen might be open and engaging, and the next, they're shutting down or pushing boundaries. Communication can become strained as teens often resist advice and push away parental guidance. It's a tough balancing act between giving them space and ensuring they know you're there to support them. For many parents, the fear of losing connection is daunting. Watching your child struggle with their identity, peer pressure, and making choices can be heart-wrenching. You want to protect them, but they crave autonomy. Imagine receiving that call. Your daughter is in trouble. For any father, the moment is filled with worry and disbelief. His mind races with questions. What happened? How did she end up in this situation? Is she safe? The uncertainty can be overwhelming. He might wonder if she was with the wrong crowd or if she made a poor choice. Each question amplifies his fear, as he grapples with the reality that his little girl is facing serious consequences. As the video unfolds, we can see a scene at a police station where patrolman Eric is talking with the father of a young woman named Jenna. The father walks in, looking worried and anxious. He greets Eric, who introduces himself and confirms that he is Jenna's dad. Eric informs the father that Jenna has not been behaving well in custody. She has been demanding water as if she is staying in a hotel rather than being in a police station. Her behavior includes screaming and calling the officers names. Eric explains that he is not accustomed to being disrespected and cannot simply let her go because her father is there. The father asks what Jenna did to get in trouble. Eric explained that he could not share all the details since Jenna was an adult. He mentions that she has some charges against her, but assures the father that she will have all the necessary paperwork when she leaves. The father seems worried and wants to know if Jenna knows he is there. Eric confirms that he has informed her about his presence. Jenna's behavior continues to be a point of concern. Eric mentions that she has been insisting on more water. Although he gave her a cup earlier, she kept asking for more. The father, feeling frustrated, wants to see Jenna, but Eric tells him that they cannot allow civilians back into the holding area at this time. Eric reassures the father that Jenna is safe in her cell and is not harmed, but he emphasizes that her conduct has been completely unreasonable. He tries to calm the father by providing directions to the lobby area, guiding him to make a right turn and continue down the hallway. Released from the station. Meanwhile, the camera shifts back to Jenna, who is visibly upset in the holding area. She raises her voice and demands to know where her phone is. Eric informs her that she did not have her phone when she was brought in. Jenna's frustration is evident as she continues to press for more information. Eric lists her charges: noise interference with business, defiant trespass, assault, and resisting arrest. He hands her the paperwork, showing her the court date, which is set for June 12th at 9 in the morning. Jenna appears irritated and questions Eric, asking if he feels proud of himself for making a big arrest. Eric clarifies that he did not arrest her. He is just doing his job. Despite Jenna's challenging behavior, Eric remains calm and professional. He tries to explain the process to her, but she is not interested in listening. Instead, she is focused on her discomfort and the water situation. She asks again for water, expressing her frustration over the wait. Eric responds that she can ask for water, but it will take some time before she can get it. As the conversation continues, Jenna's attitude remains defiant. She demands to speak with someone and insists that she has been treated unfairly. Eric tries to maintain order and tells her to stay calm. He explains that being respectful will help her situation, but Jenna seems unwilling to cooperate. The patrolman continues to guide Jenna through the process. He directs her on where to go to find her father, reminding her to pay attention and follow his instructions. Jenna appears confused and lost as she navigates the hall. Eric points her towards the exit, telling her to walk straight and make the appropriate turns. Despite the stress of the situation, Eric keeps his cool. He understands that Jenna is upset, but he knows that staying calm is crucial. He hopes that she will eventually realize the importance of treating others with respect. As they approach the door, he reassures her that her father is waiting just outside. Meanwhile, the father is still in the lobby, anxious to see his daughter. He looks relieved when Eric finally leads Jenna out of the holding area. Jenna remains stubborn, saying to Patrolman Lee that he deserves to be arrested. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.